Nathan B. Nathan Bray. That's a no. No Nancy yet, right? Gracie Castillo. Sylvia Garcia. Gerard. Alex just got here. Ryan Romano. And Xander. Right? So again, no Nathan B. No Gracie Castillo. No Sylvia. No Gerard. No Ryan. And no Xander, right? Okay. So a couple of things here. Let me make sure I get them put in as absences. So no Nathan, last call. No Gracie Castillo, last call. No Sylvia Garcia, last call. No draw. No Ryan. No Xander. Okay, so everybody else is here. Okay, so I think we're set. A couple of things. You should have gotten notification that if you want to, they're going to bring back sophomores and juniors the week of May 11th. And that's up to you in terms of what you have. A couple of things to be aware of. If you come back on campus, there's a daily check-in, obviously masked the whole time. In this class, there'll be no cell phones. So there's a cell phone holder when you come in your class. I'll watch you put your cell phone in. And then for all the classes, regardless of whether it's mine or another class, you're here for the entire 80 minutes. So if you come back to campus, it's not when you're done, you just take off and wander around to the Greek Theater or wherever else you want to go. You're in class for 80 minutes. So we're online, you're done, you're done. So those are some things to consider. I'll give you more information as they come out with what the expectations will be, but that's what we've been told so far, and that's the way that it's been with seniors. There's only been about 20% of the seniors that have come back on campus learning, but you may do what you want to do. So, yeah, they may have pushed it back another week. So, Alex made the point about the 18th. That may be true too as well. So when they first talked about it, they said everybody the 11th, but now some are saying freshmen the 11th and sophomores and juniors on the 18th. So we'll see. Principal said last night, emailed all the faculty that they would send out more information. So as we know more, I will let you know. As I said, Monday, we're going to take a look at Pearl Harbor and Midway. So we're going to take a look at what happens in the United States in terms of World War II, in terms of the Pacific, what their strategy was, how the fight against the Japanese went. The two biggest battles that we need to talk about are Pearl Harbor and Midway, and we'll talk about the importance of each of those. Some of you have already done the map identifications, but map identifications, what you'll do before tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we'll take a look at two pivotal battles, Guadalcanal, which sort of gives us a stoppage of the Japanese advancement throughout the Pacific and sort of turns the tide. And then as we make our way up to the islands of the country of Japan, we'll talk about the Battle of Iwo Jima. So go ahead and go to week 16 module. All right, so a couple of things to think about here in terms of Pearl Harbor. Most of you know from the time that you were little, right, that World War II for us starts when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor on Sunday, December 7th, 1941. They attacked very early in the morning. Pearl Harbor was basically the main naval base for the entire Pacific Fleet of the United States Navy. During this time, right, you have a number of naval personnel situated there. Obviously, it was early in the morning on a Sunday, right? A number of people were on their way to church or at church at the time of the attack, and thousands of people are going to be killed, with the highest number being on the USS Arizona, right? The Pearl Harbor outcome obviously is a convincing Japanese victory. It disables most of our Pacific fleet for a number of days, sinks a number of ships, and it is a surprise attack that is going to draw us officially into World War II. So up until that time, we had pretty much stayed out of the war, even in Europe, and basically had continued our isolationism that had come about through the end of World War I, especially through the Depression and all these times that a number of things were not available. Second important battle is the Battle of Midway. So the Battle of Midway, as you can see, takes place about 7 months after Pearl Harbor, after we sort of regroup, rebuild, and get going. Midway is an island located almost halfway between Asia and North America, and that's how it got its name. It lies around 2,500 miles from Japan. Because of its location, it was considered an important strategic island for Japan in the war. If you could control Midway, then you could control not only the naval routes and the destinations of the Pacific, but you would also have a base to take planes and land halfway. So when my dad fought in Vietnam in the 1970s, early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, he flew basically from Los Angeles to Midway. They refueled in Midway and then flew all the way from there to Vietnam. So that continued even 20, 30 years later to be the spot to stop. Now, the reason that this battle is important is because the Americans have an overwhelmingly and convincing victory. The Japanese lose 4 of their aircraft carriers out of 10, I believe. They lost 40% of their fleet. They lost a number of battleships and destroyers. They lost over 240 airplanes in this battle, and basically suffered the type of catastrophic losses in terms of soldiers dying that we did in Pearl Harbor, right? The battle was a turning point in the war, and it was the first major victory for the United States and the Allies up to that point in the Pacific. So some of the pictures here, you can see the sort of damage that is done. Now, aircraft carriers are important because of the amount of men, soldiers, planes, and equipment, right? And for much of the rest of World War II, the United States uses Midway Island as a seaplane base and fueling station for submarines. As I said, you control Midway, you control what goes on in the Pacific, so to speak. All right. So those are the two biggest battles that were fought in the Pacific at the beginning. And so when you look at the importance of this, I'm going to show you a little bit of a documentary about Pearl Harbor and what that was like. It was a complete shock to the country in terms of what happens. Right. So that basically covers the attack. Now, obviously, the Japanese had never thought about um, invading. They basically thought that this would just keep the Americans out of the war. The Japanese, aligned with the Axis powers of Italy and Germany, thought that they would be able to control everything about World War II because the United States would not be interested in joining the war after that. The only item that you have to do before we meet tomorrow is this map identification. So these are the main identifications in the Pacific that you need to know. All right, so this obviously number 3 is Hawaii, here is the island of Japan, and these are where the battles take place. And this is on formative. So once you have completed this, you can log out of class, but you need to stay until you complete that. And it's open now. Grace, you need to finish the map of the Pacific first. And then Lily. Okay, so Larissa, yours looks all right. Joanna, yours looks all right. Caitlin, yours is all right. You hear all of yours are right. Lolly, all of yours are right. Elisa V, all of yours are right. Caitlin, don't forget to submit yours through Canvas. Yeah, you can submit Avi, but you want to fix 1 and 9. Sarah, you want to check 9 and 10. Make sure you add the word ocean at the end. Yep, Andrea, I see yours and they're all right. You're good. So Leah's all good. Larissa's all good. Benny's good. Joanna's good. Lily E is good. Alexis J is good. Caitlin's good after she submits. Grace Manetti, you're good. You hear you're good. Sarah, you're good. Lolly, you're good. Avi, you want to fix 1 and 9. Andrea's good. And Alyssa V is good.
Thanks. Have a good one.
You too. Take care. We'll see you later. Yeah, the map, Abby. But that's all right. If you did yesterday's assignment, then just do the map tomorrow.